Bold predictions revisited. We got to grade these things. We can't just let you predict things in August and then not revisit it. And it's good news for some of you because you really, really were on the money a lot more than I thought you were. Let's start with the first. How about Dustin saying USC's offense will finish the season 30 spots higher in terms of points per game than Oklahoma's? Survey says, nailed it. USC actually finished 33 spots higher. This was very prophetic, by the way, on the part of Dustin. He said they're going to finish 30 spots higher. USC 33 spots higher in terms of point per game. Now, I don't believe in the caveat system, but if I did believe in it, I would say, now, Dustin, Dylan Gabriel did get hurt for Oklahoma. Now, Dustin, things sure did change after that. I mean, for example, I know it may be hard to believe, but it hurt Oklahoma to lose 49-0 to Texas. That really dampened their points per game statistic output. And they struggled several games thereafter. So, Dustin, you win. No caveats. You win. That's how I have to wrap that up. Next up, this one got sad in a hurry. Scott Frost, kickoff with Kenneth, said Scott Frost will not make it to season's end. He didn't even make it to September's end, I don't think, as it turns out. In fact, he was really done before week 1 because Nebraska played a week 0 game in Ireland, no less, and they lost to Northwestern. How bad is that, by the way? I don't want to just glance over that or gloss over that. Nebraska lost to Northwestern to start the season. Northwestern proceeded to go 1-11. Their only win was against Nebraska. That is horrific. They lost to Southern Illinois and Miami of Ohio. They just boom, boom, rattled off 0-11. That's all right, though. We got somewhere there's a family, and it's one of those house divided things, and it's Northwestern and Nebraska, and somewhere, mark my words, a Northwestern fan said, I don't care if we go 1-11 as long as that one win is against Nebraska. You got it, buddy. Happy Christmas in Evanston. You got it. You got it. I saw a 3-0 start headed into the Oklahoma game. I thought this was a bad prediction. I thought Scott Frost was going to make it. I thought the opening portion of their schedule was workable enough. And I thought they were going to be 3-0 against Oklahoma. And even if they lost to Oklahoma, I thought they'd be okay. Because when you say this schedule out loud, Northwestern, North Dakota, Georgia Southern, Oklahoma, Indiana, Rutgers, Purdue, Illinois, Minnesota, it sounds like at least there's a 5-4 or a 6-3 open to the season. No, there was not at all. And one little more trinket, one little more nugget of information, courtesy of Late Kick Stats and Info, or as you might know him, producer Jesse. Northwestern scored 31 against Nebraska. Northwestern scored 35 points in their final 5 games of the season. Gross. God bless you, Matt Rule. Good luck to you. Next up, Alabama, preseason favorite to win the national championship and all that and everything in between. Well, Big Cam said Alabama was going to win the West, and the second place team was going to be 3 or more games behind them in the standings from Gulf Shores, Alabama. Obviously, Bama didn't even win the West, so you may think, oh, Cam was off. Well, yes, he was, but here's the funny thing. The rest of the SEC West pretty much did what he needed it to do. It's just that Alabama didn't. Because the rest of, LSU went to Atlanta with 2 conference losses and lost a third, obviously, in the conference title game. So if I were to just shift the ending of LSU Alabama, Alabama probably wins the West. They win it by a couple of games, and who knows what happens if I shift the ending of the Tennessee game. My point is, Cam was both way off and not all that far off. That translates to Cam blew his prediction. I called that a 7.5 on the boldness scale for the record. Next up, this one was an 8 on the boldness scale for me. I think it's pretty obvious why. Alex said, Clemson and Oklahoma will miss out on their conference championship games again because famously, the year before, we had Clemson not even playing for the ACC, OU not even playing for the Big 12. We had Ohio State, as they did again this year, not play for the Big Ten championship game. So Clemson and OU not playing for the conference title. See, that was the problem for me, because I looked at it and I said, I could see Oklahoma not making it. There's a competitive balance in the Big 12 the ACC does not have. There is a ton of turnover in that Oklahoma program that Clemson, at least to that degree, did not have. And I was right. Clemson was minus 190 to make the conference title game at the beginning of the year. And they made it. And they didn't even have the best of years. That just shows you how unlikely, I guess, this prediction was. The Clemson not making it was always going to be the issue. So Clemson made it. This one went down the drain. Next up, this one looked like it was on the way to cashing, and I don't know what in the world happened. Or maybe I have some theories as to what happened. I'm not ready to float them yet. How about this one? Oklahoma State finally wins the Big 12 under Mike Gundy. This was such a tale of two halves this year. Listen to these point totals. So at one point, Oklahoma State was first in the Big 12. Their first 7 games, here are their point totals: 58, 34, 63, 56, 41, 40, and 41. Then something happened there in Stillwater, and their final 5 games, they scored 0, 16, 20, 13, and 19. I witnessed when it all went wrong. Because, need I remind you, what I thought was going to be one of the most competitive games on the Every Given Saturday tour this year turned out to be the biggest blowout that we will ever see, hopefully in person, and that was Oklahoma State at Kansas State. 48-0 was the final score. That was tough to watch. That was a Sarah McLachlan special to end all Sarah McLachlan specials. They started 5-0. They lost to TCU. They beat Texas, so they're 6-1 there. And then they lost at Kansas State, at Kansas, at Oklahoma, West Virginia. It was just abysmal. So they did not end up even playing for the conference championship game. They didn't win it. But boy, for all the world, I thought I picked them. I picked them to beat Kansas State, and thought that was going to be sort of the point where they solidified themselves as one of the participants in the Big 12 championship game. And instead, it started a disastrous slide to utter irrelevance. And now they've had a lot of kids leave, including the starting quarterback, Spencer Sanders. I don't really know what to make of what is about to happen with Oklahoma State football. So we'll just have to wait and see there. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure to leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.